Welcome, business, bourbon, and cigars audience. I'm Scott Joseph, your host, and today we've got an incredibly insightful episode for you. Our guest today is none other than Wes Stringfellow. He's a product and technology visionary with a track record that speaks for itself. Wes has held top innovation roles for Fortune 500 companies. Doesn't get any bigger than these guys. Amazon, PayPal, Visa, Target. And he's led groundbreaking initiatives and fostered transformative change. So we've got an exciting episode for you. We're going to learn a lot. He's got over 20 years of experiences, 5 patents, and the successful launch of an AI-powered marketplace. He's now channels his expertise into coaching and consulting through his company, How Do. So today we're going to explore unleashing transformative innovation, maximizing growth, and adopting cutting-edge technology. That way you can propel your company forward. If you're looking to push boundaries and take your business to the next level, this is not an episode that you're going to want to miss. Now, before we dive in, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to Me Plus Ultra at meplusultra.com, and also subscribe on our YouTube channel, Me Plus Ultra Network. That way you don't miss any episodes and future experts. So let's get started. Wes, welcome to Business, Bourbon, and Cigars.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Man, I look forward to this. As we were talking a little bit earlier, AI, I know we're going to talk a lot about AI, but it's everywhere, and there's so many different solutions out there, and I know there's a lot of worry about where it could go, but man, I just look at the productivity and efficiency improvements that it can help every business and every person with, and I absolutely love it. So let's go in, and I want the audience to kind of get a feel for who you are. Talk about your journey, specifically what I really want to know, or what are the key milestones that I guess help you transition from working at companies like Amazon and PayPal to founding your own company, How Do?
Yeah, thanks again for having me. So my career started back in 1997, and back then you could be terrible at technology and no one knew. And so I was very lucky to get into technology early and kind of rode the wave. The first 7 years were mainly in server closets as a database administrator. And then I got hired at Amazon. And that's when I really learned the power of data and automation to drive businesses. You know, even in 2005, so I got hired at Amazon in 2004. And in 2005, I was in charge of the European fraud program. And even back then, we were using machine learning to automate huge processes, very, very large processes.
What year was that again?
2005.
Oh, wow. So I know they had to be working on all this stuff, just to happen like this, but I didn't know it went back that far. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So the machine learning as a concept kind of came around pretty much right after the advent of the computer. So artificial intelligence happened as a concept happened in the 1940s. And then we've been working towards this moment for a long time. And especially the AI that people see out there today, it's just the next natural evolution of technology that's been in play for a couple decades. And the reason I bring that up about Amazon, though, in terms of the early stage of automation, is it's really informed my career. Like when I saw the capability that Amazon had to take data, take rigorous process, and then execute at scale efficiently. When I joined Amazon, I was managing $400 million in revenue, and that's a lot. And it was just me. And the way I was able to do that is incredible amounts of data. 80% of my day was analyzing data and then deciding how to tune the business based on the data. And then so when I took over the fraud program, we're managing billions of dollars in revenue, and we have to have very, very low fraud rates. Amazon at the time had about a 1% to 2% margin in retail. So every dollar of fraud cost Amazon, potentially $100 in revenue. So very, very inefficient to have any fraud. And so we had to build extremely large operations teams to combat the fraud. But then that created latency in the customer experience. So a human having to think about, is this order fraud or not, means the customer's waiting. And what we had to do then was just automate. And so we started to figure out how to use machines, and we ended up reducing the number of humans and increasing the number of computers. And ever since then, that's just kind of been what I've done, is learning from Amazon how to use data and process to automate business processes and to automate business decisions. Is I took that into Visa. So they had a fraud process that they were using. That process, again, used a lot of humans and was very slow. And I proposed to the CEO that they automate that, and showed him how to do that, and became the VP of Innovation at Visa. Then I went to PayPal, where I was the VP of Innovation there as well. And there we focused mainly on kind of using much more efficient architectures to reduce the transaction time. Then I was the chief product officer at Rosetta Stone and helped them through a turnaround. Same chief product officer at BigCommerce, helped them through a turnaround. And through all those experiences, I'd learned enough at that point to, I think, build my own company. So I we patented some technologies, and then Target ended up acquiring those. And then at Target, I again became the VP of Innovation. And after my earnout, I founded Howdo, and now I'm trying to teach other people how to innovate using data and process.
Man, innovation is so important. And so talk to us a little bit, like, first off, how do you define, or how would you describe transformative innovation? I'll start with there, and then I'll go to my real question.
Yeah, so it's a great question. I mean, innovation is one of those words that's used so much, it's almost kind of meaningless. Yeah. I think of innovation as new, anything that's new. And I think of transformation as change. That's it. Innovation, new, transformation, change. And some businesses want new. And then when I get in there, I realize what they really want is change. And other businesses want change. And what they really want is, or need in that instance, it would be something new. And so, I always try to work backwards from the needs of the business and the customer to decide if it's innovation or transformation. But they're two sides of the same coin.
So you clearly learned a lot along the way, whether it was Amazon, Visa, Target, about transformative innovation. I mean, you got out, you started your own business, you've got a patent right out of the gate on it. Like, what did you learn, I guess, about that that's carried over, that kind of got you to where you're successful today in your own stuff with Howdo?
Yeah. So the foundational thing is to work from first principles, to deeply understand the customer, deeply, and I think the investor is a customer. I think it's often very much overlooked that the investor is a very important customer.
Well, and we have three customers, right? So we've got our internal customers, our employees, the people we work with. We've got our investors, and then we've got the people who buy our products.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. Especially as leaders. And, I to the point about the employees, the workers, I've always found some of the best insights on how to grow the business or how to save money come from the team. I come in and my job is to enable and empower the team more often than not. And that's, again, teaching them how to use first principles to identify customer problems. But more often than not, it's also teaching them first principles about communication, how to communicate to people who you're trying to build confidence with, who you're trying to ultimately get money from and permission from. And so I spent a lot, for me, I had a real luck of growing up in my career when everyone was bad at technology. So it was kind of okay to make a lot of mistakes. Now it's real easy to be good at technology. And so it actually, I think the bar is higher in terms of what it takes to get capital, but it's also easier than ever to learn. And so, the biggest thing that I've taken away from 20 some years now, 27 years of innovating, is learning is the best discipline. The more that we learn, the faster that we learn, the more that we allow our minds to change and adapt to what's happening in real time, the easier it is for us to keep pace with innovation.
So I feel like one of the biggest struggles, we work with a lot of different business owners and leaders, and one of the biggest struggles they face, and you brought up a couple things. You brought up communication and getting a lot of insights from your own team. And I feel like there's a lot of business owners or leaders out there who struggle when they know change is required, whether it's through a product, a service, some type of process they have. Maybe they're trying to improve their client experience. But change management is not the easiest thing. So talk to me, like when you talk about getting insights from your team, how are you getting, if you're head of innovation, what's that in these big companies that we can steal ideas from and bring to our little, what does these teams of innovation look like? How's that process work? And then how do you make sure the ideas and the things you kind of come up with, everyone's on board and really want to do it?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in the first instance, I try to build a view of the business that is as true as we can possibly understand. And what I mean by that is when I come into businesses, a lot of times there's mythology and there's legend, kind of tribal knowledge. And that may not actually be factually true anymore. And the more that we use data to define the customer, the competition, the investor, whomever it is, even the team and their own capabilities, the more we get an accurate and precise picture of where we are. And I think that's a very important starting point for all innovation. And it's candidly getting consensus on where we actually are is the most difficult point in the process. If we can get everyone to agree on where we are, it's very easy to agree on where we need to go. If there's disagreement on where we are, which often there is, people will say, oh, we're fine. We don't need to worry about AI, or we're fine. So-and-so is not a competitor. The number of times I've heard that Amazon is not a competitor, and the number of times the person saying that has been dead wrong. It's like,
when your logo's A to Z, you're a competitor to everybody, aren't you?
Literally. Yeah. And so, I think it's getting that first perspective of we all agree where we are. And then it's giving people a safe space. And I know it's not in like a woo-woo way, but in a real way to be vulnerable and fail. There's going to be, especially with organizations that haven't changed in a long time, there's going to be a lot of failure. And that failure will start culturally. People will have a great deal of discomfort. Some people will express that discomfort consistently, vocally, and with emotion. And then there's there's kind of the operational reality of we've got to get to work, and working's going to be different. And there are some people who are real adaptive to change. They've been waiting for change. They run at that. And I try to find those people as quickly as possible. Those are the culture carriers. Those are the ones who are going to help me at the tip of the spear form the wedge that's going to create the new patterns of behavior, that's going to create the new operational processes. And once we get that wedge going, it's about building a coalition of folks to follow us. And so that requires quick wins. We have to demonstrate that we're moving quick, we're actually getting results, and that these results are anomalously better or measurably better than the standard kind of status quo.
I think what you just said there is key. And I think that's where a lot of people fall short. I don't know, once they put something out there, it's a new process, this and that how many times have you seen a business put out a new process, they do it, and then they regress back to the old, right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is not putting out the wins. Maybe at the same time, when you're putting out a new process, maybe not being willing to pivot a little bit and tweak some things that either need improving or eliminate what didn't work with the new process or, product, whatever it might be, service. But man, if you're not communicating the wins and celebrating, seeing this is what's going on, I think that's where maybe a lot of them fail.
I agree. I think communication is a huge part of it. I think also folks who haven't changed much think that change is a single step, as opposed to thousands and thousands of little steps, probably 80% of which are in the wrong direction. So, it's hard for people to identify wins when the metrics haven't moved yet, right? Or the KPI hasn't been hit, or we're not in the compliance with an SLA or whatever metric you're using. But that's why the process is so important. When you're changing, engaging in the process, completing the process every week, every day, depending upon how you're engaging, is where small victories come from. Like simply doing something different is in fact a win. Yeah. Having that something not work the first time is normal. And so it's kind of setting the expectation. It's breaking things down into smaller pieces, and then it's celebrating progress through those smaller pieces towards the end goal. Because candidly, once the change is in place and you're at the end state, it doesn't feel like worthy of a celebration, because at that point you've been doing it so long that it's just normal. So the
Yeah.
goal is to make the transition to normal as painless as possible, and that comes from celebrating the process.
What do you mean by 0 to 1 innovation?
Yeah, so 0 to 1 is my favorite thing. That's where you know, highest risk, but also potentially highest reward in terms of changing the customer, growing the business, all the fun things. 0 to 1 is where you don't have something and then you have something. A great example would be at Amazon. I helped write the product spec for the first billable web service for Amazon Web Services. So prior to that web service, no one paid money to buy data via an API. That's just not something people did, especially in an active exchange with a database. And so after that, it took 2.5 years for Google to realize that web services was going to be a big business. And now web services for Amazon is worth over $1 trillion. And so, that's an example of when we launched Amazon Web Services, no one cared. Literally, the entire tech world ignored it. And then 2.5 years later, they kind of caught up with it. And now no one can catch up with Amazon. So, the 0 to 1 is going from nothing exists in the world like it to you are the first instance of that thing. Now, it doesn't always have to be invention. That use case is invention. It could be in a company catching up. So Google launching their first web service, that's a 0 to 1 process, but not a 0 to 1 invention. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, as you've led these innovation teams, like how do you approach creating, say, a 0 to 1 innovation or product, service, whatever it might be? How do you go about creating something that you just, and with the goal of truly disrupting something, especially in large corporations where it's not as easy to just, shift directions?
Yeah, it's incredibly hard to shift directions. It takes a lot of force. But the biggest thing that it takes is investor commitment. Depending upon the scale of the organization, if you're a small business and you want to make a transformation or a 0 to 1 pivot, that requires years of work. It's 3 to 5, I think, is a safe number. And so that just requires endurance. And that means you have to manage your capital differently. You have to manage your culture differently. And again, you have to think about what are the incentives that I can give my team to endure through this. If the end goal is 3 to 5 years out, then the process becomes the valuable part for the employee because they're working through this process every day, and honoring and acknowledging that is critical. If you're in a big company with Wall Street as your investor, or you're in a startup with venture capitalists, it's number one, investor buy-in, because the metrics aren't going to always move up and to the right, and the costs will always be larger than forecast. And I've had a couple instances where they haven't been, but I would honestly admit that is luck. Yeah. Almost always it's more expensive, and so the investor buy-in is number one, and then number two, team buy-in, because it's not going to be comfortable. The number of days that people come to work and their prevailing thought in their head is, I don't know what I'm doing, and it feels like we're failing, is going to be greater than 80%. 80% of the time you're going to feel uncomfortable. And then there'll be little teeny wins and you feel comfortable and you see progress and you get excited, but then you go right back to that, oh my goodness, we're like, building a spaceship in the middle of space. And then once it actually takes off, once you actually launch your product, that's just the first day. So many companies think that they have to build something, and then once they launch it, it's kind of like, oh, we've succeeded. That's actually when the work starts. So the building is the hardest part until you launch it, and then that's the hardest part. And then you got to scale it, and then you got to diversify it, and then blah, blah, blah. So, but it's just business building in the end. It's just business building. And 0 to 1 in big companies, businesses require a lot of permission from investors. Small companies require endurance from team.
Yeah, I love that, because I feel like, innovation, everybody wants to be innovative. Everyone at least wants to say they're innovative. Sounds exciting and all, but a lot of roadblocks, a lot of challenges. And I think you just did a good job of explaining what some of those challenges and roadblocks are that people have to work their way through and overcome or solve. So love it. AI, let's jump into that a little bit. Massive game changer, right? So in your opinion, how can companies leverage AI to really drive, I guess, digital transformations that don't just improve efficiency, but also enhance? To me, it's all about client experience. And so how do they do that? What's the best way?
It's a great question. It's kind of the question of the year right now. When I think of what AI can do to improve client efficiency or client engagement, satisfaction, whatever the metric is, I think of AI as being a fundamental element of accelerating capital. And you're either going to get more capital by creating growth, or you're going to get more capital by reducing costs, right? And AI is phenomenal at both of those. On the customer service side, if you have a big CS ops team or any CS, reducing costs there through automation is a great way to reclaim capital. You could take that capital, reinvest in growth, reinvest in other cost saving initiatives. But it's, the game right now that AI is enabling is capital management. Same on the growth side. If you have really high marketing costs or any sort of ambition with marketing, AI is great because it's currently the way that it's being employed with the large language models like OpenAI and ChatGPT, and then Anthropic and Claude. Those models are built on language, and so they're very efficient at language-based activities like marketing or customer service.
Right.
But I think it's real important to kind of up level and look at the broader AI scheme, the concepts that have been talked about since the 1950s. Because AI is just, as we talk about it, it's a discipline in computer science, and it's also a piece of technology. And sometimes we merge those two. And to break them apart real quick, AI is the large language models that we talk about. If we were to look at a Russian nesting doll, they're the smallest doll. They're large language models. The next one out is deep learning. The next doll out is machine learning. And at the machine learning level, which is a much more simple piece of technology, there is incredible amounts of value that businesses can derive without having to be radically technical. LLMs, large language models, to really integrate them, it costs time and money. They're easy on a process side, so humans can use them, so you don't have to do a lot of technical integration. But in terms of producing real capital for the business, automation automation is where the most amount of money can be produced, and that requires having robust processes, robust data, and machine learning can do that very easily. You don't need to have a super hyper advanced PhD trying to figure out an LLM. You can just have someone who understands how to run SQL queries and save a ton of money or make a ton of money.
Yeah, I can't tell you what it is right now, but I am working on, and I'm letting people know that are watching or listening to this. I'm announcing it right here. I'm just not telling you what it is yet, but one day you'll be able to go back and say, that was the episode he told us. It's going to be, completely transformative in one of the largest industries in the world. And I'm excited as hell. And this is an idea 5 years ago. I would have said, man, somebody should invent this. But I guess just through this process that I've had in the last 3 years of meeting people like yourself, people in our mastermind group, and my network has grown. I literally have I have someone that I know. I have a relationship with this person that can do this. I have a relationship with this person. You talked about investors and raising capital. I've got those relationships now. I've got all these things in place, and it's like, this isn't that hard for me to do. all I got to do is put the puzzle together. And so that's what we're working on now, but I'll come back to this, and you'll be one of the first people I when this thing launches, I'll let you know about it. Cause I love to get I love to get people's opinion, especially who have a good AI understanding in background on it. So I'll reach back out to you and tell you. I think you'll be wowed by it.
I look forward to that. Good luck. And you're right. Building a new thing is just like a Lego kit. You just got to put the pieces together. Yeah.
Yeah. And fortunately for everyone, I'm not the one that's going to be building it, because I would never. I'm going to have to rely on all these experts. But that goes right into this question, right? Building a team. that's capable of delivering AI powered solutions, that can be a challenge in itself, right? And so, what strategies do you recommend? This will help me personally, probably, for creating an AI ready team that really drives this innovation and, more important, can execute on the idea and get it done.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it depends on the types of technologies that you want to employ. If you want to do things that are like, we could use foundation models like OpenAI, and we can very easily build things on ChatGPT. That's an efficient process. So if you have someone who is just familiar with computer programming or coding at any level, they could probably create something very powerful with OpenAI, because OpenAI is making it so that it's easy to do that. Same with Claude. So the way that I think about it, Microsoft has invested heavily in OpenAI. So when I talk about Microsoft, I generally think about OpenAI and vice versa. And Amazon has heavily invested in Claude, and so on. Same thing. The reason I bring that up is because if you're developing something, those are kind of the platforms you have to choose from: Microsoft or Amazon. Those are the two backbones of most software development right now. I tend to think that Amazon's, nothing against Microsoft, not saying anything. I know people have a lot of strong preferences here, but I tend to think that Amazon's dev environment is a little bit more mature and a little bit easier to develop in. And so if you're looking for people to develop an AI solution, I would look for people who have familiarity with Amazon Web Services. And the big thing is to look for people who've done it before. There's a lot of folks out there who say they can do something, but if they don't have, if they cannot physically point to something that they have done that you can see and interact with, I would be skeptical, and I would measure my investment accordingly. Let's say that.
You know, you've mentioned data a few times here, especially when you were talking about your journey. I mean, it all started with data, and so it's kind of the backbone of AI. I mean, AI doesn't work without it. So talk to us, like, if I went around to company and I went into their data, their databases, and most of it's just so dirty and it's not organized well.
It's not data. Yeah.
No, exactly. You can't, it's hard to use because it's just filthy. And I hate to say it, but shit in, shit out, right? I mean,
100%.
so what are the best practices should companies follow to establish a strong data strategy that really aligns with, because if they don't do it now, when it's time to bring in this AI, they're really going to be behind.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, that's well said. AI is nothing but data, and all computers are nothing but data. And the more that people can start to understand what data is important to their industry, how are their competitors using data in particular, and then what data is important to define the customer. Is it customer interactions? Is it CSAT? Is it net promoter score? Is it average basket size? I don't know what your sector is, but for your audience, whatever your sector is, there are metrics that matter to the customer. And the way that I think of data is just, again, from first principles. All businesses need to grow revenue, decrease costs, mitigate risk, empower employees, and delight customers. Businesses that do those 5 things well win. And the way to use data is to work from each one of those first principles backwards towards, how can I understand how I grow revenue using data? And that starts by looking at the competitor, then by looking at the customer, then going to, how can I cut costs using data? Same lens, and on down the line. And when we run that analysis, we start to see that there's kind of 2 types of data. One is standard, keep the lights on, run the business type data, like financial numbers and operational numbers, inventory, supply chain, all that. And then there's the stuff that really is a competitive differentiator that makes your business your business. And finding that in the data is what makes your business truly scalable. Amazon, for example, their key insight is their operational data. They know the position of every piece of inventory. They know its price. They know every I mean, literally about 1,000 attributes about every piece of inventory they have. And they know the performance of that inventory relatively over time. And that time element is the most important things that businesses miss. Data is not like something, it's not like you can, just plug your data in. That's not a thing. You have to build your data, and to build your data, it takes time. And the more data that you have, the more accurate it is. The more accurate it is, the easier it is to manage your business. And so, starting soon, starting immediately, is critical, because those who have already started have an inherent competitive advantage.
Yes, 100%. What are some of the biggest challenges that companies face when we just talked about data? That has to be biggest obstacle, challenge number one. But outside of that, what are the other challenges that they face when they're trying to, integrate or implement AI?
Culture. AI is not a technology problem; it's a culture problem. And when I say problem, what I mean is like the thing that we need to solve. Most people don't want to work with AI because it's scary and because they have to learn. And if you think about it, we all went to college. We got our degree.
You know what I don't understand is half that you say I just don't get it. Half these people, the easiest way to learn about ChatGPT is just to ask it.
Yes.
I mean, just
totally. Totally. Yeah.
I mean, but go on. I just sorry to interrupt you. When you said that, I was like, I agree with everything you're going down this road that you're going. And I'm like, it just blows me away, because literally, what's the best way to use you? What are the best prompts? It'll tell you.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, this is the first technology in the world that actually helps us integrate itself.
Yeah.
No, and I agree to your point. It's exactly right. We just talk to it. But, it's funny, because when I work with people to try and help them feel a little bit more comfortable with AI, a lot of times, especially folks in leadership positions, when was the last time they had to edit a document or literally think? Most folks in leadership, especially small and medium businesses, you're dealing with experts. They know their market, they know their customer, they know their business. And going in there and saying, actually, here's something you don't know. It's a very, very uncomfortable experience for a lot of people. And that's why, learning is the first thing. And learning is something that, as we get on and more mature in business, especially as we become more specialized in business, we stop learning. It's just the natural behavior. We stop learning. We operate on intuition. AI requires learning. And the more we get comfortable with it, and learning requires failure. The more we get comfortable messing up, the better we're going to get at AI, the faster we're going to get at AI. And AI is, the way I think about it, in 5 to 10 years, there will be 3 types of people: people who know how to use AI, people who AI tells what to do, and people who have nothing to do with technology. And so right now, we have the opportunity to be the people who know how to use AI, because if we don't figure out how to use it, then we'll be employed by people who use it to tell us what to do.
Yeah. I had a good friend who, a little bit older, and was looking for a job. So he's in the job market. And, old processes, right? I've got my static resume. I got my static cover letter. I got my, all the things that the way we used to do it, and just blanket it out there. And so I gave him prompts. I said, here's some prompts that are going to have you customize your email to this company, customize your cover letter, and customize your resume. Not change your resume, but customize the wording so you're hitting in on the key things in your email, your cover letter, and your resume. It really aligns with the jobs you want most, and it speaks their language, right?
Yes.
Gave him all the prompts. Showed him the process to make it efficient for him to be able to do this easily. Tried it once or twice, went right back to the old way. Right to your point, learning something new and this culture problem. But man, it's so easy. And who knows the job he could have landed.
Yes.
Right? By aligning just the way he communicates with the person reviewing all this stuff. He missed out probably on a lot of opportunities, not to mention it was a lot easier. It takes really no more time to do that than it does just to blitz out a bunch of generic covers.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I was working with a CEO a couple of months ago, and it was literally to the point where I had to tell him, just go take a walk. Like whenever you feel like you don't want to interact with AI, go take a walk, breathe deeply, think about what's at stake here, right? Because our discomfort inhibits our business growth. The more we get comfortable with learning, the faster our business grows, especially right now. And AI is, if we use it right, it's like having McKinsey on the other side of your computer screen. It's like having the best consultants in the world available for you if we just learn how to talk to it. And so I find it incredibly efficient. I use it all the time, and I'm constantly teaching folks I work with to try and think of it as a thought partner, think of it as your counselor, think of it as whatever you need, however you need to compartmentalizing it. If it's a teacher, a consultant, or whatever, it's important to start using it. And as soon as people get over that initial hurdle within themselves and they go for the walk, come back and earnestly try to use it, once they see the efficiency, it's impossible to unsee.
If you think about all the products, Uber, Amazon, I don't save money on Amazon.
Mm-mm.
I spend more, arguably, on Amazon, right?
Correct.
But
Yep.
it saves me a lot of time and effort, and it reduces a tremendous amount of friction. All right. Same thing with DoorDash. Same thing with, the list just goes on and on. And so we've been talking a lot about AI in terms of how it can help us be more efficient as a business. But I just look at all the opportunities from a new product, new verticals out there in terms of, because I do agree with you. I think there's a culture problem. People aren't going to want to learn. And so people are willing to pay for things to be done for them. And so you're already starting to see niches within the AI. Like, here's my podcast AI, right? I can go in, there's podcast tools. I could take our episode here, upload it into AI. It will transcribe it. It will pull out the clips if I want to, the best clips from it, right? So hopefully you've got like 10 great ones out of here. and it'll, if I wanted to, it would write blogs from it and everything else.
Yeah.
And so, but that's a niche, right? It's saying, I know there's podcasters out there and I want to make their job easier. And I know there's a good percentage of them that don't want to have to go through all this stuff. So I'm going to design a product that just makes it so easy for them to do. And just think of all the different things that can come just like that.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
I agree. I think this is the best time. I've been innovating since 1997. This is the best time I've ever seen to be an innovator. It's easier for people to come up with great ideas, to bring those ideas to life. And as you said, there are so many niches that will be solved by AI and haven't yet been. And that's a fantastic opportunity.
So, and I guess we're kind of touching on this with my next question. It's a good little segue, I guess. But most of the time when people talk about innovation, right, they're talking about how it translates to profit, right? But how do you approach innovation to create really a meaningful impact, both not only for the business, but say society or a group of people, group of people, however you want to define it?
I think that's a great question. It's the reason I built How Do. I truly think that we have so many opportunities to improve life, opportunity for other people. Like, folks who have opportunity right now are really lucky. There's a lot of people who don't. And trying to expand access to opportunity, I think, is incredible. And specifically, I think with education, helping people understand how to use available tools, how to use whatever it is they have to take the steps they can to get to that next level. And then from there to the next level. And it's not, I think a lot of times we characterize change as being like a switch, and it's more of a very long process. As we talked about with companies, it takes a long time and a lot of investment to get real outcomes. But I think this is the time for us to be making those investments, both in terms of how we manage our business, but also how our businesses contribute to society, how our business contribute to other people. And it doesn't have to be in big ways, but just even little ways. I think there's so many opportunities to pull folks who, 50% of men from this year's graduating class of high school did not apply to college. And I'm not saying college is not a barrier anymore. I don't think you have to go there, but it does create a sense of determinism on their near-term career prospects. And there are a lot of trades out there. I think of innovation as a trade. And so my job at HowDo is to try and make innovation accessible to everyone so that regardless of what your background is, regardless of your education, you can use the discipline of innovation to solve the problems that you see in your world and your life. And to those folks who may not have the opportunities that they wished for, that education is free on HowDo, 100% free. And I think that's how we'll fix. Candidly, I think that's how we rebuild American economies and regional and federal. I think that's how we rebuild American companies. And I think it's going to take rebuilding the economy and companies to really rebuild and reunite our society.
So talk to us a little bit about HowDo. So give the audience a clear picture of exactly what it delivers for them.
Sure. Thanks. HowDo is a structured process.
We don't normally plug on here, but I'm asking this for two reasons. Out of respect for you, I really appreciate your time, and I want our audience to understand what you offer them. But at the same time, after this, I'm going to go back to this education part because I think it's a wonderful topic on AI, and I got all kinds of questions on that. So go ahead.
Yeah. So HowDo is my innovation process. And when I say I mean the innovation process that I've used for 20 years to help the biggest companies in the world grow. And it's totally free. It walks you through the mindsets that you need to have. It walks you through the processes that you need to step through to get the data that you need for your customer, for your competitor, for your market. Having that data, customer, competitor, market, is how you build a good pitch for investors. It walks you through how to build that pitch. And then it walks you through the tools that are available to bring your idea to life. Every business has the opportunity to build, buy, or partner. So HowDo walks you through how to figure out which of those tools is right and how to use them. And then finally, it's impossible to do anything in business at scale without a team. So HowDo walks you through how to build and manage a team that's innovative.
All right. So hold on. It's free. How do you make money?
I self-funded. I sold my company to Target, so this was my give back.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Over time, we're going to build a platform. That's what I'm working on right now. You, I have something I'm building, but I just saw. So when I was at Target, I got the opportunity to travel around the country and meet a lot of Target shoppers. I got the opportunity to go into their homes and sit down with them and have coffee and go to Target with them and walk through the store with them and pick their kids up at school and just their day, enjoy the day with them. And what I saw was a lot of single mothers who don't have 5 minutes for themselves in a week. I saw a lot of fathers working 2 to 3 jobs. And I thought to myself, we got to do better. We got to do better as a country. And so I spent a lot of time analyzing what the issue is. And I think it's that we don't have enough companies that are growing. The more companies grow, the more money they make, the more they can pay taxes, the more they can pay their employees, the more employees pay taxes. It's a virtuous circle. And so we got to get that circle going. And so for me, I just felt like, I was very fortunate to do well in my life. And, I feel like I had an opportunity to give back. And so I did.
Now that's what we're talking about when we talk about creating a meaningful impact. That's awesome. So literally they can go in for free at howdo.com and literally find your processes and how you help and create these innovations and execute them and the whole thing.
1,300 pages of professionally documented resources. Normally people would sell just the product module. People would sell for several $100,000. But yeah, no, I get it. I've had several venture capitalists call me an idiot because I gave it all away. But,
I love it.
I think that's the kind of stuff that we got to do right now. I think we got to lean in and try to make a difference. So that, it's just what I know how to do. And for me, candidly, it's fun. I over 400,000 people have used it worldwide, which is really exciting. 50% of those folks are from America. And I've gotten to talk to thousands of folks who've used it in America. And that's always his best. That's just the best.
Is there anything better whether you're uniting people or uniting someone with a solution, giving them an idea, and then watching that magic happen, where you did create some type of meaning and impact on that one specific. To me, at this stage in my life, it's what brings me the most joy,
Yes.
and I love it. I've never had more fun than I have had in the last 3 to 4 years. So I think we're in alignment. I mean, it's just a great time to be involved in all this in business, and there's so much opportunity, and I'm excited to see where it goes. Let's get back to this education. So I have a child every 10 years, whether I need one or not. So I'm 56 years old. I range from 27 to 2. So,
wow,
and
that's
I've
incredible.
I've got 4. So outside of one, they were all surprises. But I'll never tell the 4 which one's the one. So, but my point is, I had a daughter that just graduated from University of Kentucky. And so I'm telling her, I'm like, are you can, thank you. You can use AI for that. She goes, Dad, I know how to use AI. Because all these college kids, they're literally using AI to do their work. And then the professors have figured out, oh, there's AI to detect if it's AI. And now there's AI to make it undetectable. In other words, I can take my AI written document, put it into that, and it'll write it so it sounds like human. So it's like, where does that end? And so to your point, the real question I want to ask is, where do you see the future of education?
Yeah, it's a question I ponder daily. I was the chief product officer at Rosetta Stone, and we spent a ton of money trying to figure out what the future of education was. And then when I saw ChatGPT the first time, I was like, well, everything we thought was wrong. I think the future of education is going to be about how we enable people to candidly do 2 things real well. One is use technology to accelerate themselves. And I mean, accelerate. So, with technology, things are going to get faster. People are going to have capabilities we never thought about. The idea of a job title is going to be strange in a decade or 2, because if everyone can do everything with AI, what is a job? So, I think there's some kind of unknowns in that vector, but the foundational knowledge of that vector is using the tools. And so the fastest people in business will be the winners, and the fastest people will be the ones who know how to use AI. The other is, I think education, I think we're doing a very, this is my personal opinion, but I don't think we're doing enough to help socialize young adults. I think we need to do a better job of helping them understand how to deal with difficult circumstances, deal with their finances, deal with their health, deal with relationships. And I think technology has kind of, social media in particular has broken a lot of the basic human skills that we develop naturally. And so as AI evolves, I think it's going to be a combination of re-socializing people and empowering them with AI.
Listen, we've always, whether social media, AI, it doesn't matter. I feel like we've always done a disservice throughout human history to the youth when it comes to health and finance.
Yes.
The only people that ever learned about finance is if they were some type of finance major. Other than that, they learned nothing. And think about all the crap we've been taught about health, which was wrong. I mean, I'm sitting here, dairy, bread is one of the main food. Just horrible advice. And the stuff they're putting in our bodies, that we're putting in our bodies today. I mean, we can go all down the RFK rabbit hole if we want, but man, just what a disservice on that end. But you are so right on the socializing. When I interview or watch young people in my organizations, the one thing they're very good at, and I don't think anybody's great at multitasking, but they are a little bit better than the older generation at multitasking. And I think it's because they're used to a lot of different things coming at them at one time. They're great at tech. They're great at communicating digitally. But to your point, they lack major social skills. If I had to go sell this person in person, communicate in person, it's almost like they're afraid to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
So spot on.
I think that's a big risk to not give people the tools they need to be successful socially, especially in business, because business is all about relationships.
So I got to tell you, I'm going to put the how-do link in our show notes on our site.
Thank you.
Because I want everybody. In fact, I want my own companies going in there and getting that information, because for one, I think everybody wants innovation. Everybody talks about, well, I've got an innovation team, but they don't really have the processes to take it from start to finish and know how to do it in an efficient way. And you've already been there, done that from some of the biggest. So I love what you're doing there. I think that's an incredible way to give back.
Thank you.
The world could use more people like you. So it's awesome. For those that are either watching or listening today, and some of them might be at the beginning of their journey, or maybe they're just looking to innovate within their own companies to take them to the next level. What's the best advice that you'd give them?
Try. Don't be afraid to try. Like, and when I mean try, I mean like for a year or two. Really put in the time. I failed so many times, and the only thing that kept me going is I was a failure at most things. So it was pretty normal. And so, but it takes a long time to get good at everything. In life, it takes us a long time to learn to walk, to learn to speak, to learn to read. Business is no different. Innovation is no different. But just with walking and speaking and reading, once you learn how to innovate, it's a skill you have forever. And so it's worth it.
I love it. Well, Wes, I want to thank you for joining us today, sharing an incredible amount of expertise. You've given our audience a wealth of actionable advice, which is most important to me. And you've given us a lot of insights on AI implementation, to strategies for building innovative teams. Probably one of the best things you gave us is your resource library of how to get all this stuff done. So for those listening or watching us, if you're ready to take your business or your career to the next level, I want you to check out howdo.com. I got that right? It's just howdo.com. Pretty simple. It's a great URL. It's packed with open source resources that West has designed specifically for entrepreneurs and innovators looking to make a real impact. And literally, it costs you nothing. So go in there. He's doing this. He's passing on a lot of knowledge here. Don't waste time, effort, money trying to reinvent the wheel when you when you can shorten the learning curve. And don't forget, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to Me Plus Ultra at meplusultra.com and on our YouTube channel, which is Me Plus Ultra Network. That way you can stay up to date with more inspiring episodes. Thank you for tuning in to Business Bourbon Cigars. Cheers, everyone.